Okay, we're going to be modeling the pulley. This is on page 804 of your textbook, figure 16.67. There's quite a few features on this, but we're going to do a revolve of this. And we're going to start off in a world coordinate system, and you're going to use a right side view. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw a profile that will be spun around an axis to generate our shape. Now, so as I have often started, I tend to use a lot of offsetting of lines. So we're going to start at 0, 0, 0, and we're going to draw a line to the left. Okay. So this line that I just drew represents a center line. It's what we're going to revolve the shape around. I'm going to draw another line vertically, and we can use that to offset in the other axis. And this is going to represent what we would say is probably the back side of our pulley. So now we want to start offsetting construction lines. And I'm going to start with offsetting what would be the smallest diameter on this shape. So our drawing says that we have a 2¼ inch diameter hole going all the way through the part. So we'll start with that diameter. And we're going to be spinning this, so anything we do is a radius, and when we spin it, it'll become a diameter. So we're going to go to offset, and so if we were to offset half of 2.25, that'd be 1.125. And we'll offset the horizontal line down. And that makes up our smallest diameter. And then we'll go to our next smallest diameter, which would be the counter bore, which is, according to the drawing, 3½ inches. So we repeat our offset command, but this time we're going to put in 1.75, which is half of 3½, and we'll offset our same baseline. Our next smallest diameter on the drawing is 4.75, so we'll go ahead and offset that one. And we need half of that, so it's actually 2.375. We're going to offset that line. Okay, so we've got a few of the lines. I want to start defining some corners so that we're taking shape here. Okay, so from the back, our first offset would be 0.87, so 870 thousandths. So go to offset 0.87 and offset in. And then our next profile that's on the outside of the part, which would establish the overall width of the part, is 6.75. And our counterbore depth is 1½ inches. Our counterbore depth is 1½ inches. Okay, so I'm going to do a little trimming so you can make sure that you're starting to visualize what we're doing here. So let's go to trim, and we're going to trim off the corner here, 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 here. Okay, so what we have developed so far is this is the center bore and this is the counter bore geometry. And this line here is the end of the boss at the center of the part. So we'll go ahead and trim those off. Okay, so we're going to keep working off the back here. We've got our ending at 4.275 diameter boss, and then where you jog inward, and that next step is 1 inch and 3/4 from the inside, or from the back of the part. And we can draw a line with ortho on to the left, and that gives us the outside edge of it. Okay, so now we're traveling towards the outside diameter, and our next largest diameter on the back side of the part is 10 inches. So we're going to go to that next largest diameter. It's 10 inches. And it's actually half of that, so we're going 5. Okay, so we now have our center bore, counter bore on the left side. We've got our boss here, our 4 inch, 3/4 inch boss is this corner. We come back from the back of the part, and we have a floor that's 1 inch 3/4 in, and then we have the vertical wall of the inside of the outside rim back to the back of the part. We now switch from diameters to an offset. So we're going to offset a wall thickness on this of 0.75. We don't have that number because it's a true wall thickness, and that gives us part of our outside rim. Now outside of that we have a flange rim, and it appears to be another 1/2 inch. So we'll take the line we just created, and we're going to go up a 1/2 inch. And it's also a 1/2 inch from the back. Okay, so to generate the shape, you do a little bit of extending. And extend those two lines. Okay, we need to do some trimming. We're going to trim off said line there, said line there, the line on the back of the part. There we go. So now we're starting to build a outside diameter rim. Now let's build from this outside rim, and we'll end up connecting up with the other side. Okay, so we have a ledge here, and then we come back out for a additional 1/2 inch flange. So the overall width of that feature is 4.5 inches. And we're going to offset from the back of the part 4.5 inches. We can then offset back a 1/2 inch. And then we can connect the endpoints And then we extend and do one more trim. Okay, so now we have the outside rim of our pulley. This is where our, on the pulley, if we had a belt, it would run. Okay, now we need to start building in the opposite side. So we then have a recess, and the wall thickness should be common. So our line can come back in from the end because we had already trimmed it off with the wall thickness. And the floor on this side is 2 3/4 inches from the back. So we're going to do an offset of 2.75 from the very back of the part inward. And we need to extend that line to give it projection. And we'll go ahead and trim off the corner. Okay, so we've wrapped around, and then we have a substantially large boss that comes up on the other side. And that boss diameter is 6, so we need to offset 3 from center line because that's half its diameter. And this creates our intersection. That's the bottom of that flange. So we'll go ahead and trim that up. And we've already established the overall width of our part. So we can connect to our counterbore, draw a line down, and then trim those respective entities off. Okay, so now we have the center of rotation and we have the bulk of our shape that we're going to revolve. There's one more step we want to do. AutoCAD behaves a lot better with fillets in 2 dimensions. So we're going to go put in our fillets at this stage as opposed to the model stage, and when we revolve it, they'll already be there. Now it appears that there are 12 locations we need to put that fillet. So we're going to use the sketch fillet command, and we're going to set our radius by typing in R for 0.25. They're 1/4 inch radiuses. And we are going to continue around the part, putting I'm going to start with the rim and work myself around. And you have to, it's not modal, so I'm pressing enter every time I start a new fillet. That looks like that one's sharp. Now we can come back and do the inside. And then we'll do the transition there. That should be it. So let's count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, 12 spaces. And if we revolve this shape, we have the main body of the part model will be completed. Okay, and so we're going to use the revolve command. It's a solid command. And for that, we need this to be all one region. So you could create a polyline out of it. That's another method, but I'm going to use the region command. So we go to region, and it's saying select the entities you want to become a region, which I have. Hit enter. We don't want to include our revolve line. And now we want to do our revolve in an axis that's 90 degrees to this line. So we are currently in the right side view. We want to revolve around the front view. So we're going to go to front, And then I like to go to a three-dimensional view when I'm doing solid work. And you can see our revolution in our profile. You're going to pick revolve. It's saying, what do you want to revolve? I want to revolve this profile that I just selected. It's highlighted in blue. And then I'm going to accept it. And the mode I want to use is object. I want to define my rotation center around the line that we created. So it's going to be object. And we're going to select the line. And you could stop the rotation anywhere. If you actually wanted to make, say, a quarter section and grow that part, you would stop at 275 degrees, but we're going to go 360, and we have our revolve. Now let's switch to a conceptual view, and you can see what we've created. Now revolve that section all the way around, and we've made our pulley. Okay, so that's the last step in the revolve section. Now we need to put in some hole patterns. So our drawing has a hole that goes, a hole pattern that goes in the face of the part. Okay, so we want to look at this in front, and we want to draw a geometry that will make up our pattern. Now we could use a press pull in a series of circles, but I'm going to use what's called an array command, so we haven't used that. And let's go back to our wireframe, and we want to draw a line from origin straight up, and it can go about that high. We're going to take that and we're going to horizontally from its endpoint out. Now we can place the first hole here on top where the intersection of an offset line hits this line. So our bolt pattern diameter is 7.5, so we take that number in half, which is going to be 3.75. And offset our line. So our first hole should be right there. So we're going to draw a circle. We're still going to draw a circle. I'm going to turn off my grid snap here. And it's going to be at the end point. And we're going to switch the diameters. And the diameter of our hole is supposed to be 3/4 of an inch, so 0.75. And we've now placed our hole. Now that we've done that, let's get rid of this extra geometry we've made, construction geometry. And I'm going to look at it in a different view. So we've constructed that in the plane of the back of the part. So now what I want to do is I want to create a cylinder out of that. So we're going to do a extrude, and we're going to pick the cylinder. We'll hit enter, and it's just got to blow through the part, which the section we're going through is less than 4 inches. So let's just do 4, and we've created our first body that we're going to use as a cutting body. Okay, so we're going to select polar array. We'll select the object that we're going to array. Hit select enter to accept the selection. We're going to do an axis of rotation. And we're going to pick the first point of rotation is going to be origin, which is 0, 0, 0. And then I'm going to turn the grid off, but I'm going to leave ortho on, and we can pick a random place out here. Now it's previewing, and at this point we should be able to edit the array. So I'm going to type in items, and I want 6, and that happens to be what we want. It's going to evenly space them. So we'll accept the default of 6. And then we'll exit. So now we have 6 pieces of cylinders that we can use to cut through the holes. Okay, now we have to explode the array. Explode. And this is spelled explode because it's the solid command. And we select our objects and hit enter. And that will give us separate entities to use. Now we're going to use the solid subtract. We're going to select the object we want to subtract from. We're going to hit enter to accept that. Now it's asking for the objects that are going to be removing material. So we select our 6 cylinders. And we're left with our 6 holes. You've reached the end of the pulley section view drawing tutorial. Please proceed in part 2.